Hello everyone, today we would like to share about English relative clauses. We will start with what are relative clauses. Relative clauses are dependent clauses that describe, identify, and give information about a noun, and also called adjective clauses since they modify nouns in similar way to adjective. But they are different from adjective in terms of the position, while adjective placed before noun, but relative clauses are placed after the head noun they modify.
From my topic is from. In this presentation, from means the grammatical structure of relative clauses. We will see how English relative clauses are formed, what word they use, and the different type they have. First, the gap strategy. In English, a relative clause has a gap. The gap goes back to the main noun. The gap can be a subject, an object, or after a preposition. For example, the friend who I met at the restaurant is no list. The gap is object. For the next is relative pronouns. What does it mean? Relative pronoun is relative clauses often start with words like who, whom, which, whose, where, when, why. Who, whom for people. Where for places, which for things or animals, when for time, whose for possession, and why for reason. And the next, the complementizer that. The word that can replace who, whom, which, but not whose. For example, the girl who is sitting there, the meaning is the same like the girl that is sitting there. Or we often use that with superlative or indefinite. Example, this was the best thing that happened to me. Or there is nothing that we can do. Finally, the type of the relative clauses. There are three types. The first one, the WH relative with the WH word. The second, that relative with that. And the last one, bare relative with no word. Example, I will read the journal which I borrowed from the library. Or I will read the journal I borrowed. That's the same meaning. That is the end of my presentation about from.
Distribution of relative clauses. English relative clauses usually come after the noun that they modify, and their position change depending on the function of the head noun that in the sentence. From these three examples, we can see that preposition of relative clauses are different. It depends on the head noun that they modify. And when relative clause contain a verb and a preposition, there are two ways to place that preposition within the clause. First, the preposition is at the end of the clause. It is common found in spoken English. And second, the preposition is placed before the relative pronoun. This is a feature of formal and written English. And sometimes long or important relative clauses are separated from the head noun and moved to final position of the sentence. And the relative clauses that was separated from the head noun, they call extrapost relative. Like example A, the long relative clause is separate from its head something. And example B, relative clause that is important information about a girl is also separate from its head noun, a girl as well.
What are relative pronouns? Relative pronouns are words that introduce relative clauses, which give more information about a noun. They connect the main clause with the relative clause and can act as a subject, object, or show possessions. Some common relative pronouns are who is used for people as the subject, whom is used for people as the object, usually in formal English, whose shows possessions, which is used for things or animals, that can refer to people, animals, or things, but only in restrictive clauses. Now, let's talk about restrictive and non-restrictive clauses. Restrictive clauses, also called defining clauses, provide essential information to identify the noun. They don't use commas, and you can use that, who, whom, or which. Example, the car that I bought last week is red. Here, the clause is necessary to know which car I mean. Next, non-restrictive clauses or non-defining clauses provide extra non-essential information. They use commas, and you can use who, whom, whose, or which, but not that. Example, my car, which I bought last week, is red. The information about buying the car is extra, not necessary to identify the car.
Next, we will talk about subtype. Subtype of relative clause can be categorized into 1. Intergranted relative. 2. Supplementary relative. If you cannot similar with this word, you can commonly known as a defining relative clause and restrictive in the intergranted relative clause in the same meaning. And a part of supplementary relative can commonly known as non-defining relative clause or non-restrictive. For the difference between intergranted relative and supplementary relative, intergranted relative provide an essential information to restrict the noun, and intergranted relative tightly intergranted with the head noun. And the last one is no comma are used, a part of supplementary relative. Supplementary relative provide an extra information or non-essential information that you can delete that, and the meaning of it is can understand fully. And supplementary relative is really abstract to the head noun. And in this point is very important. Is supplementary usually separate by comma, dash, and parenthesis. For example, I will give you one sentence at the same. The sentence is, the manager will reward the sales clerk who are hardworking and honest. The second is the same. The manager will reward the sales clerk who are the hardworking and honest. What is the difference between it? Okay, it can seem like it's the same, but it's not. For the same poetry, is this clause has a function as a noun modifier of sales clerk, and this clause begin with the relative clause noun, who and who. But the difference is this. This make these two sentences are different. And what is different between it? Okay, I will give you the answer. Okay, for intergranted relative, there is no comma here, so essential information. So the meaning of
this sentence is only the sales clerks who are hardworking and honest will be rewarded. And for supplementary relative, add the same sentence with comma. The meaning of it is all the sales clerks will be rewarded and they are all hardworking and honest. It's meaning that this clause can delete it and we can understand just this sentence is completely. And for this clause, it just tells us that the sales clerk is already hardworking and honest, so the manager will reward to every sales clerk. And next, the main differences of the relative clause. For the first, we can categorize into three aspects. The first one is intonation and punctuation. For intergranted relative are part of sentence. So when we speak, there is no pause. And in the other hand, supplementary, because it's just additional information. So when we speak, we will use a little pause and end up with the following intonation. And for the writing, intergranted relative, no punctuation is used. Supplementary relative usually use punctuation like comma, dash, or parenthesis. And for second is interpretation. Interpretation, the key difference is the information they give. Intergranted relative give essential information to the sentence meaning and restrict the noun to those with a specific trait. And for supplementary relative, it just tells us more information, so the information is additional and no need to identify the noun, and provide extra detail to the main clause, like adding the side comments. And last one is syntax. For the intergranted relative, can categorize into three types. The first one is WH relative, including whose, who, whom, which, where, when. Second is that relative, including that only. And where relative, nothing. And for supplementary relative, it's mostly used WH relative, usually. And that relative are rarely to use. And for where relative in supplementary is don't have.
And if you write sentence like this,
it will be ungrammatical.
For the second difference of two subtypes involve antecedents. For the indicate relative clause, they are used to identify more specifically who or what is being talked about. So for the first example, the student, who is my French advice, write this well-organized paper. As you can see, relative clause normally occur with the common nouns. And let's looking for the second and the third example. Is there anything that I can help? And there are those that you should not ignore. I have already colored on the essential part. When an antecedent is an indefinite pronoun, demonstrative pronouns, only integrated relative clause can occur. Okay, let's move on to the next. The supplementary relative, they are served simply to provide additional information about the head noun. So as you can see, the example. Okay, let's look on the first one. The student, who's my French advisee, writes this well organized paper. And the second one, James, who's my leader, give order to the employees to have lunch before noon. So supplementary relative accept common noun and also proper noun. Move on to the third difference of two subtypes of relative clause. Is concerned with antecedents. Since they have a cause as their descendants, they are referred to as essential relative clause, which is the cause is loosely connected with its causal antecedents. So it gives additional information to the antecedents and can constitute a separate unit. For the special subtype of supplementary relative, the relative pronoun is always which. For the example, the document was sent late, which caused some delay in our progress. Our volleyball team won competition, which brought joy and pride to all of us. The antecedent of which is not a noun phrase, but it is the entire preceding cause. Another syntactic difference between the two subtypes of relative clause is stacking. For integrated relative clause allows stacking, so they can be strung together one clause after another to modify a single head noun, and also often found in spoken English. For the example, the book that Jack wants to borrow that is on the shelf is about a dolphin. For the supplementary relative clause, the supplementary relative clause cannot be stacked. Having more than one supplementary relative clause is an ungrammatical. So as you can see from the example, Jack with 4-year experience of working in Japan, who can speak 2 languages, is qualified for this position. This clause from the supplementary clause is ungrammatical. So we move on to the. So English allows a supplementary relative clause to go with an integrated relative clause to modify the head noun. So an integrated relative must appear before supplementary. So for example, this is a clear example. The televisions that I bought last week, which is quite portable, wasn't expensive at all. So as you can see, the integrated one is appear before the supplementary one. That's all for today. Thank you for your attention.